Welcome to I Wrote This News. Today is January 27, 2022. Here's what you need to know. Story number 1, Breyer. A White House source says that Justice Stephen G. Breyer will retire at the end of the Supreme Court's current term, giving President Biden a chance to reinforce its liberal minority and deliver on his campaign pledge to make history by nominating the first African-American female justice. Breyer, 83, is the court's oldest justice and was nominated to the court in 1994 by President Bill Clinton. Biden's pledge to nominate an African-American woman would be a first. There have been 108 white men on the court, 2 black men, and 5 women, none of whom were black. If Supreme Court justices would just retire like normal people, say at age 65, there would be 5 openings. Breyer, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, John Roberts, and Sonia Sotomayor would all be sipping mojitos somewhere warm or yelling at kids to get off their lawn. Story number 2, Swiss Miss. Note, this story was submitted by a faithful listener. As a playful joke, North Carolina resident Zachary Kesey posted video of a scenic mountain he visited in Switzerland, but labeled it as being in Gastonia, North Carolina. The video racked up more than 500,000 views. But that didn't deter one Olivia Garcia of Florida, who saw the video and convinced her family to drive to Gastonia to see the view. She recounted, "Once we started kind of going out of the mountains, I was a little suspicious. I'm like, when are the mountains going to start back up again? I was like, this doesn't seem right. And once we got there, I was like, oh God, this isn't it." The director of travel and tourism for Gaston County, where Gastonia is located, said that he was glad Garcia came to visit and hopes she returns to see some of the non-Swiss sights the area does have, such as the famed Eiffel Tower and Mount Etna. Story number 3, Spotify picks younger Rogan over older Young. Streaming service and creepily accurate about my musical taste Spotify is in the process of removing Neil Young's songs from its catalog. Young demanded the withdrawal in a letter citing vaccine misinformation spread by podcaster Joe Rogan on the service, saying, "They can have Rogan or Young, not both." The letter cited an episode in which Rogan interviewed Robert Malone, a virologist who was involved in the mRNA vaccine technology and has been criticized for spreading vaccine misinformation. In a second letter, Young accused Spotify of selling lives for money and called Spotify, quote, "the home of life-threatening COVID misinformation." No word from Spotify as to whether they plan to use that as their new slogan. Story number 4, You Can't Always Gaetz What You Want. The Daily Beast reports that Big Joe Ellicott, a former Florida shock jock with potentially key information about the sex trafficking ring involving U.S. Representative Matt Gaetz, has pleaded guilty in federal court. Ellicott is the longtime best friend of corrupt Florida tax official Joel Greenberg, who was Beavis to Gaetz' butthead in the underage sex operation, according to several sources with direct knowledge of their relationship. Last year, the Daily Beast revealed that Ellicott knew intimate details about the teenage girl who was paid for sex by the group and texted what essentially amounted to a confession that they were scrambling to try to cover up details about their sex with a 17-year-old from the feds. Gaetz' chief of staff Jillian Lane Wyatt told ABC News, quote, "After nearly a year of false rumors, not a shred of evidence has implicated Congressman Gaetz in wrongdoing. We remain focused on our work representing Floridians, including those who confuse North Carolina and the nation of Switzerland." Now it's time for On This Day in History. On this date in 1785, the University of Georgia is founded, the first public university in the United States. On this date in 1880, Thomas Edison receives a patent for his incandescent lamp. On this date in 1967, astronauts Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee are killed in a fire during a test of their Apollo 1 spacecraft at the Kennedy Space Center. Celebrating birthdays today are Russian-American dancer, choreographer, and actor Mikhail Baryshnikov, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court John Roberts, actors Mimi Rogers and Alan Cumming, comedian Patton Oswalt, and Mexican singer and actress Bibi Gayton. Happy birthday to all of them, and if your birthday is today, a very happy birthday to you as well. Today's news was brought to us by The Washington Post, KIRO, WSOC, The Guardian, The Daily Beast, ABC News, and good old reliable Wikipedia. If you have a comment or a question about anything you've heard today, or if you have a suggestion, please send us a note at iwrotethisnews, all one word, at thatradioshow.com. That email address one more time is iwrotethisnews, all one word, at thatradioshow.com.
One more thing, if this podcast sounds a little funny, that's because it's also an experiment. All of the vocals were generated using AI technology. Hopefully the show will sound different and better as the tech improves and as we improve at using it. I'm Bob Neese, hoping you have an amazing day. We'll get together again soon.